Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me. But until that day, accept this justice as a gift on my daughter's wedding day.
Can you believe it's been 50 years since we first met the Corleone family? 50 years on, The Godfather has taken its place high on the list of classic Hollywood movies.
One actor was given only 5 years to live by his doctor on the final day of filming. Another actor rejected his Oscar and sent a stranger to turn it down on live television before losing his life. The Godfather turned unknown actors into lifetime legends. But over time, it has also become a long list of tragic goodbyes, unfinished careers, and painful struggles. So what happened to each of them? Join us as we closely examine how and why they lost their lives. Marlon Brando.
Thank you, Dana. Hollywood has lost one of its greatest actors. Movie star Marlon Brando has died in a Los Angeles hospital. He was 80 years old. Today, fans and those who knew him are remembering his remarkable career.
Marlon Brando passed away on July 1st, 2004. He was 80 years old, and his final day came after years of serious health problems. Among those were lung disease, diabetes, heart failure, and obesity. His late 70s were spent away from the public and on his private island in Tahiti. It was a very different ending for a man who had once been one of Hollywood's biggest and most unpredictable stars. But one moment made sure people would never forget him. In 1973, Brando won the Oscar for Best Actor, but refused to accept it. Instead, he sent a young Apache actress, Sacheen Littlefeather, to the stage. She told the audience he was turning down the award to protest Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans and the conflict at Wounded Knee. Some people grumbled, while others sat in silence. Even more than 50 years later, people still argue about whether it hurt his career or became one of the boldest protests ever seen on live TV. That fearless choice almost never happened because Brando nearly missed his most famous role. At the time, he was 47 years old, and many studio executives thought he was too risky to play Vito Corleone in The Godfather. But luck came to his side when director Francis Ford Coppola believed in him and convinced the studio by filming a home audition. Brando put cotton in his cheeks, slicked back his hair, and created the voice and look that became legendary. Yet those are just a few of the many quirks he was known and loved for. Instead of reciting long and often hard-to-memorize speeches, he often read cue cards placed just off camera. Of course, the cast and crew knew about it, but Coppola didn't mind because Brando's performance was so powerful. Coppola later said that without Brando, The Godfather would not have been the same. The role that almost went to someone else became one of the greatest performances in Hollywood. He was very good at his work, but the next actor took that to a higher level. John Cazale.
Christ, what a trip. The whole time I'm thinking, what if somebody knows what I got in here? Can you imagine that, huh? $2 million in the seat next to me in the plane?
He was a bit older than I, a couple of years. So he was that way with me too a little.
John Cazale passed away on March 12, 1978. He was 42 years old, and his body caved in after lung cancer spread to his bones. The disease was found too late for doctors to stop it, and he never got to see his last movie, The Deer Hunter, released. He also never saw it win 5 Oscars, including Best Picture. But for most, here is the most intriguing thing about his life. Cazale acted in only 5 movies during his entire career, yet every one of those films was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Even in 2026, no other actor has matched that exact record perfectly. His 5th and final movie kept that streak alive, but he died before it reached theaters. Making The Deer Hunter was not easy. Because Cazale was so sick, studio leaders worried about delays and wanted to replace him. But his partner, Meryl Streep, refused to leave his side. She turned down other jobs to care for him, and the filmmakers changed the shooting schedule so he could finish his scenes. Streep said those months changed the way she thought about true commitment for the rest of her life. Cazale was already known for playing Fredo Corleone in the Godfather movies. Fredo is the forgotten middle brother who betrayed his family. Cazale made the character feel hurt and human, making audiences feel sorry for him instead of hating him. Years before becoming famous, Cazale and Al Pacino shared a small apartment in New York while chasing acting jobs. Pacino has said many times that Cazale was the greatest actor he ever worked with. He even said he learned more from acting beside Cazale than from any acting class. Even today, actors and directors study Cazale's 5 performances. His career was short, but his work proved that greatness is measured by impact, not only by time. James Caan.
Actor and New York native James Caan has died at the age of 82. He had memorable roles, including his star turn as a mobster in The Godfather.
His passing occurred more recently on July 6, 2022. He was 82 years old after a heart attack caused by heart disease. His family asked for privacy, while actors and directors across Hollywood honored him. He's referred to as the kind and loyal man who made it part of his ambition to treat everyone on set with respect. Because he was one of the last major stars from The Godfather, his passing was especially emotional for longtime fans. But years before losing his life, Caan almost lost everything from one major problem he suffered from. In the late 70s and 80s, he struggled with substance addiction. The problem slowed his career, and there were years when he hardly acted at all. Later, Caan spoke openly about his recovery. He said getting sober in the 90s saved both his life and his career. That fresh start helped him keep acting for another 30 years in movies, as different as Misery and Elf. Still, even though the future of his career was looking grim, one role would forever make him unforgettable. Caan played Sonny Corleone, the hot-tempered oldest brother in The Godfather. Sonny's shocking death at the toll booth became one of the most famous scenes in movie history. For years after that, fans would stop Caan on the street and joke that he should try his best to stay away from toll booths. Yet, as you'll see, he almost didn't get it. Director Francis Ford Coppola first considered Robert De Niro, but chose Caan because of his tough, powerful energy. Before acting, Caan had been a college football player and a competitive rodeo rider. He used that real-life toughness to make Sonny feel dangerous and unpredictable. Some of Sonny's punches and shoves were even improvised, making the character seem like he could explode with anger at any moment. Later in life, Caan often smiled when talking about Sonny. He joked that no matter how many other movies he made, that one role gave him a level of fame that lasted for the rest of his life. The next man lost his life to the same condition, but only after years of countless troubles and major disputes. Richard Castellano.
Richard Castellano is our guest today on Omelette. He's won Tony and Oscar nominations for his role in Lovers and Other Strangers, and now he's playing the role of Pop, otherwise known as Joe.
On December 10th, 1988, Richard Castellano passed away at 55 years old. It was after a heart attack, a problem he had been dealing with for years, that his acting career slowed down. By then, he had mostly stepped away from the spotlight, even though he had once been one of Hollywood's most popular character actors. But there's a good chance you've heard his most famous line. Even if you've never seen The Godfather, you've probably heard someone say, "Leave the gun, take the cannoli." Castellano delivered that unforgettable line as Clemenza, known for mixing humor with danger in the same scene. Some reports say he created the line during filming. His performance earned him an Oscar nomination and made many people think he would become one of the series' biggest stars. The future seemed bright, but tragedy was on the horizon. When The Godfather Part 2 was being made, Castellano did not return. Reports say he and the filmmakers disagreed over his contract and creative control, including his wish to have his own writer help with his dialogue. The disagreement became so serious that the character of Clemenza was rewritten instead of bringing Castellano back. He continued acting in movies and TV in the 70s and 80s, including starring in the sitcom Joe and Sons. But the show lasted only one season, and he never again reached the same level of fame as he did in The Godfather. Yet his fame didn't stop there. Even today, fans still talk about his performance as Clemenza. Many believe no one else captured the character's warmth, humor, and charm the way Castellano did. His famous scenes continue to be shared and remembered decades after his death. But before we move on, thank you so much for making it this far into the video. We appreciate you. Please consider liking and subscribing for more stories like this. And now, let's get back to the video. Sterling Hayden.
People who've been through that know that it is not easy.
Yeah.
Is your life happier now?
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, I pretty near took myself out, to tell you the truth. I drank through antabuse once in a hotel in New York, yeah. I lay 6 hours paralyzed in a hotel room.
After months of very painful struggles with prostate cancer, Sterling Hayden passed away on May 23, 1986. He was 70 years old, and instead of spending his final months in a hospital, he stayed on his houseboat in France, surrounded by the boats and books he loved most. Close friends said he never regretted choosing life on the ocean over Hollywood. Perhaps because his real life was just as exciting as any movie. Before becoming an actor, Hayden earned a ship captain's license while he was still a teenager and sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. During the Second World War, he worked for the OSS, the group that later became the CIA. He even parachuted into enemy-controlled Yugoslavia to help resistance fighters while using a fake identity. But one painful decision would stay with him forever. During the 50s Red Scare, Hayden testified before a government committee and gave the names of former friends and co-workers. For the rest of his life, he said it was the biggest mistake he ever made, and something he never fully forgave himself for. By the time he played the corrupt police captain McCluskey in The Godfather, Hayden had already grown tired of Hollywood. He once said acting felt unimportant compared to the adventures he had experienced at sea and during the war. Some reports say he almost turned down the role and only accepted it mainly because he was at a low point and needed the money. After filming, he returned to the life he loved. He later took his children on a long sailing trip to Tahiti during a difficult custody battle and wrote a memoir called Wanderer about his remarkable life. Al Lettieri.
There, Don Corleone. I need a man who has powerful friends. I need $1 million in cash. I need, Don Corleone, those politicians that you carry in your pocket, like so many nickels and dimes.
On July 18, 1975, just 3 years after getting famous for his role in The Godfather, Al Lettieri tragically passed away. The main cause was a heart attack, and he was 47 years old. His passing came just 3 years after The Godfather made him famous across America. Many people believed he was on his way to becoming a leading movie star. Friends and co-workers said that although he often played scary villains, he was kind, funny, and enjoyed making the cast and crew laugh between scenes. Sadly, he never got the chance to reach his full potential. Lettieri played Virgil Solozzo, the crime boss whose attack on Vito Corleone starts the entire story of The Godfather. His performance was so strong that director Francis Ford Coppola quickly cast him in another movie, The Getaway, with Steve McQueen. During the early 70s, Lettieri became known as one of Hollywood's best actors for playing dangerous criminals. Directors often chose him because he made his characters feel real instead of over the top. He also appeared with Charles Bronson in Mr. Majestic, building a strong career that guaranteed bigger roles. But his story ended much too soon. Instead of becoming a lead actor, he is remembered for a small group of powerful performances that showed how talented he was. After his death, more of his movies were released, proving he was still improving as an actor and moving toward even bigger opportunities. Many actors and film fans still believe Al Lettieri was one of the most underrated stars of his time. Even though his career was short, his role in The Godfather helped create one of the greatest crime movies ever made, and his biggest performances are still remembered in 2026. Richard Conte.
Something wrong with the food?
I didn't make any complaints.
You're taking an awful long time to eat it.
I'm a slow eater.
Beat it.
I haven't finished my sandwich.
I told you to beat it.
Okay. You don't have to get tough about it.
Frisk him. He's clean.
Richard Conte lost his life to a heart attack on April 15, 1975. He was 65 years old, and in the years before his death, he suffered several strokes that made it hard for him to speak and act. His health forced him to turn down major roles, ending what could have been a strong comeback. That same year, another actor, Al Lettieri, whom we've just covered, also passed away, making it a sad year for the film's cast. But, fortunately for Conte, he had already enjoyed a long career before joining The Godfather. He played Emilio Barzini, the calm and clever crime boss who secretly becomes Michael Corleone's greatest enemy. By the time he took the role, Conte had already been a Hollywood star for decades. He became famous in crime movies from the 40s to the 50s, earning a reputation for playing smart, cool, and dangerous characters. Later, his career slowed down. As acting jobs in America became harder to find, Conte worked in European movies, including several Italian crime films, to keep supporting his family. Then, The Godfather changed everything. The movie introduced him to a whole new generation of fans who had never seen his earlier work. Sadly, his comeback did not last long. Soon after the film's success, his health became much worse, cutting short the second chapter of his career. Even so, his performance as Barzini remains one of the most memorable parts of The Godfather. Even now, film critics still reference Conte's classic crime movies, while fans remember him as the quiet but powerful Barzini. His story shows that even after a slowdown, one great role can make an actor unforgettable. Abe Vigoda.
We have some very sad news to report. Multiple news agencies are reporting that the actor Abe Vigoda has died at age 94. This man is an actor who's been working in Hollywood for many, many years.
Abe Vigoda tragically passed away of natural causes on January 26, 2016, at 94 years old. He was one of the longest living stars from The Godfather, but for more than 30 years before that tragic moment, many people mistakenly believed he had already lost his life. Here's how that strange story began. In 1982, People magazine accidentally reported that Vigoda had passed away when he was still alive. Instead of getting angry, he laughed about the mistake. He made jokes about it for years, appeared in interviews to prove he was still alive, and even posed in a coffin for a charity photo. A website was even created just to answer one question: is Abe Vigoda still alive? But he was much more than just a running joke. In The Godfather, Vigoda played Sal Tessio, the trusted crime boss who secretly betrays the Corleone family. Before he is taken away, Tessio says one of the movie's most memorable lines: "Tell Mike it was only business." The role made Vigoda famous when he was already 51 years old, showing that success can come later in life. After The Godfather, Vigoda kept building a strong career. He earned an Emmy nomination for playing Detective Phil Fish on the TV show Barney Miller. The character became so popular that he even starred in his own short-lived series called Fish. For more than 40 years after The Godfather, Vigoda continued acting in TV shows, movies, and guest appearances. Fans loved not only his performances, but almost envied his ability to laugh at himself and not take life too seriously. In the end, two things made Abe Vigoda become famous: playing the unforgettable Tessio and laughing when the annoying and exaggerated rumors came back. Al Martino.
I went to work for my father. My father was a builder, and I remember getting in his little truck every morning at 5 o'clock, and it was very cold outside, and while I was working for my father, I tried to figure out a better way.
He lost his life to a heart attack on October 13, 2009. He was 82 years old and had just finished what would be his final live performances. Some people remember him as a famous singer, while others know him as Johnny Fontaine in The Godfather. Except he almost never got that role. Martino was first chosen to play Johnny Fontaine, then lost the part because of major behind-the-scenes problems. After people spoke up for him, he was cast again. For a while, he thought his chance to become a movie star was gone forever. That made the role even more interesting. In the movie, Johnny Fontaine is a singer whose career is falling apart before getting another chance. Martino had faced a similar struggle in real life, making the performance feel even more believable. But there was more to this. Before The Godfather, Martino was already a successful singer. He became famous nearly 20 years earlier with hit songs like Spanish Eyes and Here in My Heart. In fact, Here in My Heart became the very first song to reach #1 on the UK's singles chart. Long before he acted in movies, fans were buying his records and filling concert halls to hear him sing. After The Godfather, he performed for many years. He kept touring and making music almost until the end of his life, and stayed a favorite entertainer in the Italian-American community. Diane Keaton.
We begin with breaking news. Diane Keaton's family says the Oscar-winning actress died of pneumonia. That's according to a statement to People. We know LA Fire responded to Keaton's home on Saturday and transported her to an LA area hospital where she died.
On October 11, 2025, Diane Keaton passed away in California at 79 years old, with her family later confirming pneumonia as the cause after paramedics came to her home. Tributes quickly came from across Hollywood. Bette Midler, Goldie Hawn, Jane Fonda, and many others remembered her as someone truly special. Midler said Keaton was a one-of-a-kind person who never had the jealousy or competition that often comes with fame. Fonda said it was hard to believe that someone with so much energy and life was really gone. Her tragic passing, coming just 3 years after James Caan's passing in 2022, meant the Godfather family had lost almost all of its original members. It closed another chapter in one of the most important movie legacies ever. From the original leading cast, only Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, Talia Shire, and Johnny Russo remained. For many years before that, Keaton was the person fans looked to as proof that the original Godfather family was still alive. She kept acting until 2024, appearing in the comedy Summer Camp with Eugene Levy and Kathy Bates. She also stayed involved in her love of real estate and design, buying, fixing, and selling homes around Los Angeles, even into her 70s. Keaton was the only major female lead in the first Godfather, playing Kay Adams, the outsider who falls in love with Michael Corleone and then slowly understands the dangerous world she has entered. She later said that on her first day filming, she and Al Pacino felt so overwhelmed that they truly believed their careers might be finished before they started. Instead, she became one of the most respected actresses of her generation. She won the Academy Award for Best Actress for Annie Hall and earned more Oscar nominations for Reds, Marvin's Room, and Something's Gotta Give across 5 decades of successful work. She never married and adopted 2 children as a single mother in her 50s. In her memoir, Then Again, she wrote openly about how becoming a mother later in life became the most meaningful role she ever had, on camera and away. So we've now covered 10 actors who starred in one unforgettable film. There are many tragedies and losses of people related to The Godfather, but we'd love to hear them from you in the comments instead. If one of these stories surprised you, drop the name below. Like and subscribe. Until next time, take care.